What are the objectives of the newly launched I Serve Equally campaign? And what are the key challenges facing the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and intersex community? What is the Justice and Constitutional Development Department doing to address the plight of the LGBTI people? And in fact, do gays and lesbians want to be given some special treatment? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. The National Task Team on Gender and Sexual Orientation-Based Violence Perpetrated Against Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender and Intersex persons has recorded an increase in the conviction rate of these crimes. Recently, the I Serve Equally campaign, initiated by an NGO Access Chapter 2 and supported by the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, was launched. It is aimed at addressing the challenges faced by LGBTI people when reporting criminal and discrimination cases to the police. A reminder that this is a live program, and therefore you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial 089-110-4210. Our Twitter handle @QuestionTime24. My guest from Cape Town, the Deputy Minister, John Jeffries. He is the Deputy Minister in the Department of Justice, and he's joining us from our Seapoint studios. And in Pretoria, we've got Steve Litsike, who is the Director at Access Chapter 2, which is an NGO. We're also expecting Mtlatsi Mutswele from the LGBTI community as well to join us after the break. Let me welcome you both, Diam and Steve. Welcome to Question Time. Diam, let me start with you. Were you under some form of pressure to finally, come up with means and measures to cater specifically for the LGBTI community?
Yeah, the National Task Team was established after representations were made to the former Minister of Justice, Jeff Radebe, back in 2011 for special action to be taken to look at ways of dealing with the violence, particularly against lesbian women, the so-called corrective rapes. So as a result of that, a National Task Team was established of both government and civil society. Took a while to get off the ground, but got going in about May 2013, and it's been going well, I think, ever since then.
Okay, and then I Serve Equally. You were part of the program that launched it last week.
Yep.
Let's talk about
well, that Steve must tell you more about. It's a civil society initiative, so as the Department of Justice, we're there in support of it. And the launch was in Atteridgeville in Pretoria last Monday, which I was invited to come and attend.
Okay. Mapaseka, let me come to you. Oh, brother, let me call you Steve. You are popularly known as Steve anyway. So let me call you Steve. You took it to your community, Pelindaba. Why specifically was the campaign launched in Atteridgeville?
First, thank you so much for the invitation. Yes, we did take it back to the communities because that's where programs should be implemented regardless. It was in memory of Lesego Manganye, who was 26-year-old, when she committed suicide. Lesego was a proudly open lesbian who committed suicide after two incidents that took place in her life. The first incident, rape case in that matter, was reported to the South African Police Service. And soon after realizing and trying to follow up the case, the docket was lost in the hands of police service. Yes. And the second incident that took place, she never reported the case, which literally means that she had lost hope. And there were so many reasons, of course, that can, say, why does one commit suicide? So that campaign was launched on the 9th of November in Atteridgeville, which is a community that I myself also was born and bred in.
Yeah. Now, I asked a question here. I serve equally. What exactly do you want to achieve out of this?
So there are three things that we want to achieve out of this. One is to document and highlight the personal stories of LGBTI people, whether they are survivors or victims, who we have lost due to hate crimes. Secondly is to increase the competency of South African police service, or rather service providers who are providing services in communities. They need to serve people equally, regardless of their creed, their sexual orientation, their sex, and so many other grounds. The third element is to build solidarity amongst allies, community members, so that they can understand LGBTI issues. So part of it is to raise awareness, but we do it in a way that also South Africans can own up. We say it by I am Chapter 2 as well. Okay. Chapter 2, which is the Bill of Rights in our Constitution. We need to remind South Africans about the rights that we need to all uphold.
Deputy Minister, the equality courts, let's just talk a bit about this. What kind of courts are this?
They're courts at a number of levels, so you can have an equality court at the magistrates' court level, you can have it at a high court level. There's legislation in Parliament at the moment which will also make regional courts equality courts. But they're specifically there to adjudicate on cases where people complain about discrimination. So that would really be in terms of complaints, in terms of the Promotion of Equality Act. Yes. So if you feel that you have been discriminated against, you can take the person who you feel discriminated against you to the Equality Court for the complaint to be heard. So they're effectively civil courts. That's courts between people. We're dealing with disputes between people.
Why are they not? Why are cases involving the LGBTI community not handled under any other court?
Well, LGBTI people would take complaints there of discrimination. So if a person is denied access to somewhere, service, whatever, they can go to the Equality Court, as can any other person who feels that they have been discriminated against. So you'll also find people who allege race discrimination also going to the Equality Court. That's the appropriate place to go, especially designed court to hear complaints of discrimination.
I see. Now, Mapaseka, perhaps the other thing which we asked when the show started was, are the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender communities saying they want some special treatment?
No, in fact, you would be surprised. LGBTI community does not want special treatment. In fact, they are calling for equal access to the rights. The Constitution is very clear. It says no discrimination on any basis, sex, sexual orientation, yes, gender identity. Now, the gay and lesbian community is not saying we want special rights. No, we're saying, can I have the same right as any other ordinary South African? So they're not asking for that. Human rights are for all, and let it be the lived reality for everyone.
DM, obviously, these people wouldn't be complaining if they were being treated well at your facilities, for instance. Unfortunately, we do not have the South African Police Services here, but let's talk about the courts in particular.
Yeah, they want to be treated equally, but there's a need for special programs because of the way people are sometimes treated by, or lesbian and gay, transsexual people are treated by people who are prejudiced. So that's why there's a need for special programs. And there are special programs for other vulnerable groups as well. But that is the reason why there was the request for specific programs. it's because of the attitude of many members of society. So when it comes to, I mean, generally with rape, there are problems sometimes from some men in the criminal justice system as to how they perceive the crime, whether they saw the woman as asking for it, if it's a woman that's raped, on the basis of the way she was dressed.
Okay.
That's why we have specific minimum sentences for rape crimes, whether it's a man or a woman that is raped. And similarly, a number of lesbian women, I think, experienced problems when they went to report matters to the police.
Okay.
And there was a feeling that there needed to be special attention given to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual people because of that.
Okay, hold the thought there. I want to take a quick break. When we return, we'll be taking your calls. The number 0891104210. Our Twitter handle @QuestionTime. For this Question Time.
The son of Africa, Trevor Noah, is leaving America in stitches.
I never dreamed that I would one day have, well, two things really. An indoor toilet and a job as host of The Daily Show.
We are the first to bring you the latest films around the globe.
Dear white people, the minimum requirement of black friends needed to not seem racist has just been raised to 2.
Cobhams Asako is a gifted blind musician, a master of soothing notes from the piano.
I love to sit behind the piano. You know, that also helps me find inspiration.
Join Refulo Mulwa every Friday for that 1-hour weekly dose of art and entertainment news at 9 p.m. on Trends.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest, we're now joined by Mutlatsi Mutsweli. He's an LGBTI activist. And at our Sea Point studios, we still have Deputy Minister John Jeffries from the Department of Justice. And in our Pretoria studios, Steve Letsike, who is the director at Access Chapter 2 NGO. Just welcome. And thank you for making it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we were just talking here about the I Serve Equally campaign, which was launched last week. But perhaps just share with us quickly some of the challenges that you are, exposed to as LGBTI activists.
I mean, problems that relate to service delivery, because the I Serve Equally is a service delivery directed campaign, are specific. You have lesbian women who always have problem at police stations and health facilities. You have transgender people who have problems with Home Affairs Department. You have gay men also having issues at other places. But then I think the most pertinent ones and the most exposed ones are the ones that relate to lesbian women largely, and transgender people who will have to go to the Department of Home Affairs and probably request a change in gender identity in terms of the birth and death registry, because when you change your gender, then you need to inform the Department of Home Affairs that yes, I was born a man, but now I identify as a woman, so I want my ID number to reflect as such, and my ID itself to reflect as such. And that is a lengthy process that most Home Affairs officers actually are not usually sensitive to. It's one of the issues. Another one is when lesbian women generally are raped, or gay men in fact for that matter, go to police stations and get there and you lay a charge, and then it's always about, oh, you're a man, you're raped by another man. Oh my goodness, wow. Things like that. Issues of sensitivity around that. And I guess it's an issue of educating those people and perhaps creating sensitivity in our communities, because police officers and health workers are members of societies. So those are just some of the issues, just briefly.
Yeah. But are you saying that our service providers, and I'm happy you called them that, at your SAPS front desk, do we still have such instances?
Yes, we do. We do. I mean, I think Steve can attest to this as people who work largely on the ground, and the organization I work for the Feather Awards. So we held a dialogue a month ago in fact, and some of the people who attended were people from organizations and communities from like the East Rand, Pretoria North, and they expressed the fact that we go to, service places in our areas, in our townships, and we don't get the best of services. You go to a health facility. One of the attendants said she'd gone to a health facility, a clinic, and requested condoms, and when she got there, it got into a discussion around, who are you sleeping with? Are you sleeping with men? And she said no. And they're like, well, then you're not having sex because you're not sleeping with men. Just because you're a woman who says I sleep with women, then in those people's eyes, you're not having sex. And that becomes an issue, because now you're not going to get the service that you require. Either if you have to be strong enough to educate the people first or not, and if not, then you walk away without having received what you were looking for.
Okay, Kubani, you're in the Western Cape. Welcome to Question Time. Hello?
Hello, Mpo?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Kubani, go ahead, we're listening. We seem to be having problems. Kubani, if you can hear me, please go ahead. Okay, well, we didn't cut him. We're not discriminating against anybody. But the number to dial, 089-110-4210. DM, do you think we're doing enough? And by we, I mean government, to educate people that, you know what, we are different in society, and that's what makes us South Africa?
Let me answer it by saying we can always do more. Obviously, the problem is the attitude of members of society, and people needing to realize that we're all different. Some people eat beef, some people don't eat beef, some people are vegetarians, and we all do things differently, and we must be respected for who we are. Okay. For how we behave and what we want to do. And that's really the problem in society, where people want to judge other people who are different to them.
Okay.
So obviously we have a problem of intolerance, not just to LGBTI people, but to other people who are different as well. And we need to educate people about respecting the rights of other people and their right to be different.
Okay, Courage, you're calling us from around Gauteng.
Yes, Mpo, thank you so much for giving me this chance to participate in the program.
You're welcome.
I see this issue of same-sex marriages and stuff is a bit of a bone of contention, especially here in Africa. Most countries in Africa, do not condone this. Actually, they actually it's a criminal offense, if I can say, to be involved in such activities. But I think South Africa is a certain example, in the whole world. Actually, in the whole world, it's very few countries also that you see allowing this kind of freedom. So I would like to say, people it's high time they got to know that lesbians and gays ought to have their right to do whatever they want. So it's actually a call to all the African countries to follow suit, to decriminalize this, issue of gays and lesbians, to let them be who they are. Otherwise, they are forcing them to behave in a way they cannot, behave. It's their right. I actually am one of those proud people who actually have, gay friends, and I'm very proud of that. So I think things have to change, especially here in South Africa. South Africans themselves generally have to admit that, the Constitution is the way to go, is the instrument that they have to respect and
But courage.
Yes, sir.
Courage, a quick one. Would you say the same if you were at home in Zimbabwe?
Yes, I would. I mean, I'm one of the few ZANU-PF members who are advocating for decriminalization of, homosexuals. I'm a proud member of ZANU-PF, and I'm saying it's high time our government looked into this issue and decriminalized it, so that we set free, all Zimbabweans or any Zimbabweans who want to come out clear to say I'm gay. They should not be afraid. It's who they are. That's what their, genes, tell you. That's who they are biologically. So who are we to try and change them to behave otherwise?
Steve, let me get your response to that.
No, I think, look, courage, just highlighted the issues that we are struggling with in the African region. There are three things that strikes emotions in Africa: religion, culture, and human rights still strike emotion in Africa. And I think we need to start somewhere. Okay. Because each and every person is diverse, as the Deputy Minister alluded earlier. But we are ought to reserve life. Let us not express hatred to cost us the life. So I do think that there's quite a lot of work that needs to be done, because we have a history of intolerance, a history of prejudice, and it requires each and everyone to ensure that we take part in promoting the rights.
All right. Derek, you're calling us from KZN. Welcome.
How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for the call, my brother.
Good, man. Just a quick one, my man. The thing is, they say you find love amongst your family, amongst your parents. I mean, like the guys that I've noticed, the ones that are gays, when their parents deny them to accept their status, they decide to leave home. So, like, if you leave home without that acceptance, then how do you expect the community to accept who you are? That's my main issue around this thing about gays. Like, I know that we must accept them as human beings and treat them as human beings as well. So that's my...
Not as they are, actually. Okay, it's fine.
Look, I think the first and foremost, like I said earlier, we are all members of communities. My parents are members of a community. So you can't necessarily speak about someone being accepted first at home and then not by other communities. And in essence, when you grow up in a township, or if you're black, there's that whole saying around a child is raised by a village and all of that. So we are all members of a community. But then more often than not, the issue is not about being allowed to be who you are, but it's about access to human rights. There's always that idea that LGBT rights are extra rights, but then LGBT rights are just the same rights that every other human being needs to access. So when you don't get access to health services, when you don't get access to the justice system as an LGBT person, you are being denied your human rights. It's not because these are certain rights that you have to be afforded to over and above the human rights that you are already guaranteed by the Constitution. That's something that needs to be informed or told or educated, or that service providers need to be sensitized to. And then just in addition to that, I think there's always an issue around people always thinking that as LGBT people you are out there looking for special treatment. Yes. You're not. You're asking for what is yours, what everyone else is, demanding. That's what you're demanding just as well. So you're not out there saying, I need to be treated as a special person. There's nothing special about me. I'm just a human being out there, just like everyone else. Just because I sleep with men doesn't necessarily make me.
That's fine. That's fine. Let's not go
Sorry.
to that.
I wasn't going to be graphic.
Okay. DM, let me give you the closing remarks, please.
Look, I think the key point, as has already been said by all of us participating on the program, is respect the rights of other people. Respect people's rights to be different. If you don't believe in gay marriage, then don't marry a gay person. But if gay people want to get married, that's up to them.
Okay.
So it's a question of respect and tolerance, and we'll be a better country if we have that.
Let me thank you all for the time. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but that was question time for today. A big thank you to my guests and to you for watching the show. From me and the crew, have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.
SABC News. We report, contextualize and present news and current affairs honestly, fairly and fully. We consider it a duty to provide consistent